Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Poorboys Little Homestead. As always, if this is your first time here, thanks for dropping in. Feel free to drop in anytime you feel, my friend. Guys, have you ever had this happen to you? I know you have. You get up, go jump your vehicle and go somewhere and your battery's dead. Well, this little Nissan been sitting here a couple days, and my little grandson was in my lap playing the other day and he left my lights on. So we finna have to boost off our vehicle. And I know there's a bunch of you out there, especially you ladies, that really don't know how to properly boost off your vehicle. So I'm finna try to teach you how to properly boost off your vehicle to keep yourself from getting hurt. So for this video, the dead vehicles we gonna call the dead. The vehicle we gonna be using to boost with, we gonna call the hot vehicle. So we got the hot vehicle and we got the dead vehicle. So y'all come on over here a little closer and let's show you what you do to properly boost your vehicles off, because it's a little different nowadays than it was back 50 years ago. First thing you want to do is on both vehicles is determine which battery post is the hot and which is the negative. But I can tell you something better than that on some of these vehicles nowadays is finding the battery in some of them. Guys, some of them cars and stuff you driving, the batteries nowadays is back there under the back seat, under the front passenger side seat on the floorboard, in the trunk. It's all kind of crazy stuff going on nowadays, where used to all your batteries was under the hood of any vehicle. So when you can't find your battery, you need to get your owner manual out. That's why you don't never need to throw your owner's manual away to any vehicle you buy. Keep it in your glove compartment. Because when you need a boost and you can't find your battery, or you have a flat and you can't find your jack and tire tool, you can go to the manual and figure out where they got it hid at and how unnecessary of a place they got it to where you got to work an hour to get it out. But that's things of this new world times we living in. But back to my battery. First, once you find your battery, you want to determine which one's the positive and which one's the negative. And if you're like me, you got to put your glasses on and need your rag. And your battery, if it ain't got a red cap on it and a black cap, if you got a new vehicle, it'll still have a red cap and a black cap. But all batteries, and you ain't gonna be able to see mine, maybe you can see it on my other vehicle, the hot vehicle. It's got a negative sign on the battery right by the post, and right on there's got a positive sign right on the post. So let me go over here to the hot vehicle and see if we can find y'all one. Now, as y'all can see, this is a newer model vehicle and it's got a positive sign on the little cap cover right here. But also, right there on the back of and usually it's going to be on the edge of the battery behind the post. There's the positive sign. I can barely see the edge of it sticking out there. And this side I have a negative sign, but it's covered up by this deal. That's why I like to try to keep all my vehicles to keep my post on here. My post covered, it shows which one's positive and negative. That way if my wife's ever off in a vehicle, it'd be very simple. Also, this vehicle right here on top of the cable coming to the post, it's got a positive sign right there. Now there's other ways to determine that, but I ain't gonna go in that depth. But best thing is make sure you determine which post is positive and which one's negative before you start trying to boost the vehicle off. Now y'all might be asking, why is he making such a big deal out of properly a properly way to boost a vehicle off. Because guys, in my life, I've had 2 batteries to blow up. One of them I hooked the cables to it to boost it off, and they was correctly hooked. And that battery exploded. And when it exploded, acid and stuff went everywhere. Luckily, it didn't just hit me right dead in the face. The second time, or actually the first time it happened to me, I hooked up a battery charger when I was a young guy. And that battery was charging, and it done been charging a while, and I was in the shop working, and that battery blew up. And luckily I wasn't standing right beside that battery. Not only can hooking your cables up wrong make your battery blow up, sometimes if you have a dead battery and that battery is shorted out in there, and you hook a hot battery to it, that battery could blow up. So we all ought to have a pair of booster cables in our vehicles. Every vehicle, to me, needs a pair of booster cables. And when you buying booster cable, gals, don't go to Walmart and get them little $9 battery cables that's got little cables on them that ain't big around as a pencil. Them's good for jumping off a side-by-side in a four-wheeler, but the bigger the wire is, the better it is for boosting, because the energy's got to go from that battery to this battery, and the bigger that wire is, the easier it makes it for that energy to run through that wire. If you got one of them little old bitty rinky-dink booster cables, I call them, made for toys, and I've had some and I've tried some. I got a pair of my side-by-side. They work for that, because you just boosting off a little bitty battery. But if you do have a pair of them, you're going to have to let your vehicle, your hot vehicle, after you get everything hooked up, sit there and run a long time to get enough fire to go through them little cables to charge this battery up over here enough to fire off your vehicle. Also, that's going to depend on how dead this battery is. If something like this, you left your lights on or something and your battery's completely dead, it's going to take a little while to get it charged up to where it has enough energy to crank your vehicle. If your battery ain't completely dead, you may just, as soon as you hook the cables up, go in there in your vehicle and it fire right up. But your booster cables come with red ends and black ends. These ends come off, so always try to keep them on so you won't never have trouble and make a mistake. On both ends, got 2 clamps. You got a black on this end for your hot vehicle and a red. You got a black and a red on the other end of the cables for your dead vehicle. So here's where it gets a little different. You want to hook your positive, your red, that's your positive, to the positive on your dead vehicle first. And when you lay down this clamp right here, what I like to do is clamp it on my cable there so it can't fall down on my vehicle and go to making no sparks or nothing. After you hook the positive to your dead vehicle, the second step is to come to your hot vehicle and take the red, your positive, and hook it to the positive on the hot vehicle battery. Again, take your negative, your black, and don't let it touch anything. So I like just clamping it on the wire there just to hold it so it can't touch nothing metal. Then you go back to your dead vehicle and you take the negative and you hook it to the negative post on the battery. Y'all thinking, oh, well, this is so simple. Yeah, but here's where most people mess up. Let's go back to the hot vehicle. Now guys, on the hot vehicle, back in the day, it really didn't matter. You would take this negative, and of course you would hook it to the negative on the battery. But nowadays, and for years now, with all this computerized stuff in your vehicles, that's not the safest thing to do. It's better to take this negative and find a nut or a bolt, bare metal on your vehicle, and connect it to that. And the reason for hooking this up in this order, and I'm going to show y'all, instead of hooking the negative to the post, I hooked it to the, actually that's where the negative cable is hooked to the truck, one of them, that grounds the whole truck. Because your whole truck frame is grounded. So as long as you hook that negative to a bare spot, a bare bolt or something, that's your ground. And the reason for hooking them up in this order is so you don't make no sparks when you hooking the positive to your dead battery first, then come over here, hook the positive to your hot battery next, then go back and hook your negative to your dead battery, and then come back and hook your negative to the frame of your vehicle. You don't make no sparks when you hooking up your cables. If you go on and hook this hot and this negative up to your hot vehicle, and then you go over and hook your booster cables on your donor vehicle, on your dead vehicle, then when you start to hook them up, it's gonna make a spark. Then if it's any kind of gases in there or anything, you could cause an explosion or something with the battery. Now when you're doing this, of course me making this video, I'm up here close looking, but when I'm normally boosting off a vehicle, I kind of turn my head when I get mine starting to clamp onto the batteries. Because like I said, I've done had 2 batteries blow up, and you don't want no acid in your eyes. Really, a man needs to be wearing safety glasses when he does this. But we all know in the real world, we ain't gonna be out in Walmart parking lot trying to get boost off and there's 110-degree heat index thinking about putting on safety glasses now, are we? Now that we got our hot vehicle hooked to our dead vehicle, you want to crank your hot vehicle before you try to crank your dead vehicle. That way you won't drain that battery down on your hot vehicle. So right now I'm finna crank this hot vehicle, and I always like to let mine run just a little bit, and then I'll get in there and crank my dead vehicle. At this point is what I was saying earlier. If your battery is dead, you need to let it sit there and run longer to charge that dead battery before you get in there and try to crank it. Also, if you got a set of jumper cables, them little toy jumper cables I was talking about, not big around as a pencil. I didn't say my little finger, but they ain't big as your little finger. These here's smaller than my little finger. And these are heavy duty jumper cables. But if you got some of them little bitty lightweights, you're gonna have to let your vehicle sit there and run longer to charge that battery. Also, them lightweight jumper cables, the little clamps on the end of them are real lightweight and thin. So if your posts and your connections, if you get in your vehicle and you try to crank it after it runs a little bit and nothing happens, come back and wiggle your ends and stuff to make sure they getting good connection. Again, a good pair of jumper cables is worth their money. If you ever get stranded somewhere and plenty of people driving by, stopping, asking, can they help you? And you say, yeah, I need a boost. Well, you ain't got no jumper cables, and that person ain't got no jumper cables, and there you are. Where if you had a pair of jumper cables and keep them every vehicle, and I've had it happen to me many times. Especially on the job site, I'd be sitting there with my radio playing or something I ain't supposed to be doing probably. Run my battery down. And then have to ask somebody to boost me off, and they say, yeah, I can boost you, but I ain't got no cables. Don't worry about it, sir, I got some, I keep them with me. But let me get in here and try to crank this vehicle up. All right, guys, vehicle's cranked. What do you want to do next? You want to disconnect your battery cables. How you want to do it. Don't just go grabbing cables and undoing. That's where you make sparks start flying. Yeah, people that's been doing it we're gonna do it. I'm gonna do it myself, but I'm trying to teach y'all the proper way to keep sparks from flying. You do it in the reverse order you hooked them up. So for now, we're gonna go backwards. We're gonna undo the ground from the hot vehicle, which is, where is it hooked? It's hooked to the frame of the vehicle, not the post of the battery. You want to disconnect it first. Now your cables is rubber, so you can just clamp that onto your cable so it won't fall down and hit nothing. Then you're gonna go over here and you're gonna remove your ground from your dead vehicle. We're gonna remove our red from the dead. And don't just drop these on the ground, because you'll let this one fall down and hit them other ones. And guys, if you let these two ends start touching, you get sparks go to flying. So always hold this one in my hand and then go back and remove your red from your hot. That's how you properly connect your cables and disconnect your cables to keep from causing sparks and to keep from damaging any of your computer and software that's in these new vehicles. I'm gonna give y'all a couple of tips in this video here. This is about boosting your vehicle off. If y'all see on my old Nissan here, you don't see no kind of battery corrosion or anything around the battery post, corrosion, anything there. All you can take you to just some regular grease, wheel bearing grease, grease out of your grease gun, put it on an old rag and just dab it on your post and around the edges. And guys, that'll keep them posts from getting corroded. I'm finna show you on this Toyota place had to replace the battery in this vehicle because it was still under warranty. And I apparently never did do that. And I want to show y'all. And I'm hoping y'all can see it. You can see that old powdery acid building up. See it starting to corrode around that metal bracket. So right now I'm finna clean this off and put me some grease around that. I should have done that. Look how corroded that right there. You don't do it, it eat that metal. It eat this metal bracket plumb in too. So you ask, how do you clean that acid and corrosion off the top of your batteries? Guys, it's simple. I think this little box at the dollar store at Walmart of this baking soda, 50 cents, $1 at the most, but you ain't gonna need the whole box. Let me bring y'all over here so y'all can see this. But you just take that baking soda, and I just got a little fork here to rake it out of the box, and you just pile it up on top of that corrosion around that metal bracket. If your battery's got corrosion over the whole top, just put it over the whole top. Put it right around them posts. I take the little fork here and I rake it up under that post where that acid is. Corrosion. And what falls down in the bottom of my truck there goes my fork down in there right now. It fell on out the bottom. Don't worry about what falls down in there. Actually, while you're doing this, you need to look down at the bottom of your battery, because most of the time it's going to be corrosion down there on that metal plate started where the battery sits. Toyota still has a metal plate down there. A lot of them's plastic nowadays, which I ain't going to say the plastic ain't better, because the plastic won't eat up with rust. Now, after you get your baking soda on there, just take water and wet that baking soda, and just let that baking soda sit there. You see it bubbling. I know y'all probably can't hear it, but it's making a fizzing noise. And I just sat there and let that eat away at that for a few minutes. After it's sat there a little bit and it looks like it's done bubbling, best thing to be is your water hose where you got a little pressure, but I ain't at the water hose. So I'm using this jug right here. And you just wash it off. Now I will pull over there at my water hose and make sure I wash all that out that's down there on the frame and on my bottom to make sure that gets washed out good. But y'all see how easily it took that corrosion off of there? And when I pull over the water hose, it'll blow the rest of it off of there. If it didn't get it all, put you a little bit more. This bracket over here had a good bit of acid building up on it, corrosion. So I'm gonna put a little bit more on there. And we're gonna move over to the water hose and I'm gonna wash it off and I'm gonna show you what you do to keep the corrosion from coming back, like I was saying earlier with the grease on my Nissan. So now that I'm pulled over here to the water hose and actually walked back around there and turned it on, because I forgot to turn it on. You take your water and you wash everything off good. And I try to wash all down in there where that fell all the way down on the frame of the vehicle and wash it off good. Thought somebody was playing tricks on me around there. My hose got the kink. It was spraying, and all of a sudden it went off. But wash all that off. And then we're gonna get our grease. Now, like I said, guys, it don't matter what kind of grease. I just had some AutoZone wheel bearing grease handy here. You can pump grease out of a grease gun. And yes, they do sell stuff for this. But why buy something that costs more? And when you already probably got grease around, especially if you're on a homestead or a farm area, if you grease your own vehicles, but you just take this grease and you just smear it on your post and your cables and kind of push it up under the edge of them cables on them posts. I'm gonna show y'all a close-up. All you do is just put it on there. It's nothing special. I've actually tried some of that stuff you buy one time, and to me, guys, personally, it don't do as good as grease. Yeah, it ain't as messy because it's in, one of them is in an aerosol can where you ain't got to get your little tender hands dirty. But it don't take just a second. I get dirty every day. But you want to put this grease on these brackets, these nuts and bolts up here that holds this bracket. Because that bracket's made of metal. It don't take no time. And that's built up on there and it'll eat it up. Have you a good rag? This is just how quick and easy it is to clean grease off. Grease ain't gonna kill you. May get under your fingernails. This ain't something some of you sexy ladies might want to do. But guys, that's all it is to it. Guys, that's all it is to it. And I promise y'all, with a 50-cent box of baking soda and whatever the cheapest grease you can find, if it's a $2 tube of grease, you can do every vehicle you got, your lawnmowers, anything that has a battery with electric start. I promise y'all, I've done this all of my life. I have never had a battery cable corrode into and I had to replace it. My grandpa showed me this trick back when I was little bitty watching him, because he always told me everything he done. Kind of like I'm trying to raise my grandson now. And I've done this all of my life. And I have never had to replace a battery cable end that was so corroded it ate itself in two. Now yes, I've purchased stuff before like a power plant or a lawnmower that I didn't have from the beginning that wasn't done, that I've had to replace the ends on because they were so corroded and ate in two. But if I got it and I took care of it from the beginning, this is what you want to do. But that's all it is to it, guys. Every time you do maintenance on your vehicle or checking the oil in your vehicle, just give your batteries a little look. See if your grease is still there. Because over time it does, it gets hot temperatures. What I like about it, if it's a thinner grease and hot temperatures, over time it does kind of melt away, but what it helps is when it goes down on that metal tray that this battery's sitting on, then it keeps it from corroding. But that ain't enough grease. You ain't gonna see no grease start running out from under your vehicle or getting all over your engine or nothing. It ain't gonna do nothing like that. If you did, you put way too much grease on your battery cables. But I hope this is another little trick and tip within this boosting video that helps a lot of you guys out. Ladies, get out there and show your husbands. Tell them, say, look what I learned today. We finna start doing some stuff to keep things lasting longer, so we'll quit spending money repairing everything. I hope that helps someone out. By the way, I'm doing something here that I've done all my life. I'm finna show y'all. This is another little tip. If you throw a thing of jumper cables in your toolbox, or in the trunk of your car, ladies, like this, they gonna be wound up around everything in there. If you'll take these cables after you disconnected them, take these two clamps, put them together, get your cables lined up here and start rolling them up. And this makes me so mad all of my life when people would borrow my jumper cables and then bring them back and want to throw them in my toolbox instead of having them rolled up the way they were when they got them. You roll them up just like that. And yeah, I had a brother and his friend that was bad about it. You roll them up and you take this clamp and you clamp it back to the end so it won't come unrolled, and that'll neatly go in your toolbox and neatly go in the trunk of your car. If it's in the trunk of your car, ladies, I'd put it in a trash bag or a little bag. But that'll neatly go in there and store, guys. And when you get ready to use them, you unroll them. You ain't untying knots, spending an hour trying to get your booster cables out. I never understood that took 5 seconds to where people don't care. They'll throw them in their toolbox, and then when they do need them, it takes them an hour to dig them out to boost herself off, to where I could be done stopped boosting myself off, went on, done drove back home where I'm going while they still trying to get their daggum booster cables unwound out of their toolbox. Alright guys, so that's how you properly boost off your vehicle. Or maybe I should say that's how you properly connect your cables and disconnect your cables when boosting off your vehicle. I hope this video helps someone out. For all you who've subscribed and shared my videos, I greatly appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, please, that little button right down on the bottom, please click it and subscribe. It's free, don't cost you a thing, but guys, it does help poor boy out here a little bit. Please share my videos on your social media to help me grow this channel. Maybe this video like this here, how to boost it off, you share it to people that you think might look at it and help them out someday. Because like I said, to me, my daughter, I taught her how to boost a vehicle off when she got her driver's license. Why? Because I put a pair of booster cables in her vehicle, and I didn't want to have to drive to town or drive to her where she was going to college to boost her off. when she got a pair of jumper cables there, and all she could have to say, hey, could you pull over here and give me a boost? She's got the jumper cable. She jumps out there and knows how to do it. I just feel that everybody should teach their kids from young on doing stuff like this. And I know it hasn't been taught, so I'm trying to get this out there. But anyway, I'm rambling now, guys. Thanks for watching. God bless. Have a great day. See y'all next time.